marks the beginning of my program, Gilbert Talks Taxes, because as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either, and it has not. So if you've been waiting for your refund check, you know it has not been a good idea. Actually, the program started about 15 minutes ago when I walked in the door, and Todd started asking me questions. Todd, my engineer this morning, good morning, Todd, on this beautiful 17th day of February. Temperature outside is 50 degrees. What was the high yesterday? I heard it got some.
I wrote down compliments of Tom Green.
It was 82 degrees. I was going to say 80. That's. It felt like it was 92 in my office because nobody thought to turn the air conditioner on, because nobody thinks about turning the air conditioner on the 16th of February. It was a surprise how hot it got, but it got hot. It's supposed to get hot again, and we'll see what happens. We are live on WCAB 590 AM. Those of you live streaming us, we had some internet problems, but Todd, my able engineer, got that all resolved, I think, and we are good. Everything looks great. Those of you live streaming us at www.wcab59.com. Northland Cable Channel 5 subscribers, good morning. Got many of you listen to me out there in Polk County. My name is Gilbert Carmona. I am an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a person licensed by the Internal Revenue Service, enrolled with them. I do everything from preparing tax returns to solving tax problems. I have an office right here at 113 Whitesides Road in Rutherfordton. I have another office in downtown Tryon, Polk County, the beautiful Art Deco building off the historic downtown. See, when you talk about Tryon, you have to use words like that. You have to use historic and beautiful downtown, because it's just a quaint old town. If you haven't been there lately, please take a drive. It's been amazing what's been happening there. And of course, we've got the equestrian games coming, and that has just been, what's going on over there is incredible. The construction going on. They're actually changing the highway so the horses don't have to worry about making those turnarounds there in Tryon. So they're just going to put a new highway through. Hopefully it'll be done. Yeah, sure. Hopefully it'll be done in time for the games. I've got a few things to talk about this morning. Now, Todd asked me, first thing when I walked in, he asked me the question that everybody's been asking me: when will I get my refund? There's been a lot of, I don't want to say confusion. I think there's just been a lot of bad information about when you're going to get your refund. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and I'm just going to talk about some things that people think is going to happen with their refunds that's not going to happen. I also want to talk about you business owners out there that use Schedule C. You're a sole proprietor, or you're a husband and wife partnership and you're using Schedule C, or if you have an S corporation. I'm going to talk about, consider switching that over to a C corporation. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that. That might be a tax strategy that might work for some of you. I don't know. It's a one-on-one thing. You got to look at it, but I'm going to talk about that. So, there was a lot. Like every morning, Todd, before I do my program, I think, what am I going to talk about? And I don't, it's not that I don't know what I'm going to talk about, it's that I have so much to talk about because so much is going on. And I just didn't know, the last few weeks I've just been very sad at the relentless attack on our president. And we always talk about that, Todd and I. It's like the guy can do nothing wrong. I mean, I'm sorry, everything he does is wrong. He can do nothing right. He can do nothing right. Everything he does is wrong. Yesterday, they blamed him for this shooting that happened in Florida. It's his fault that this happened. Just when you think it can't get any lower and they can't attack him more, they attack him for this now. And how can they even remotely blame him for this? I just don't get it. And I really have no answers. It's just bothering me so much. We have an FBI and this isn't the Mark Levin show. I don't want to get into all this conspiracy theory stuff and really just go on. But you've got an FBI that will not let up, and they have been hounding him for how long now? Well, since the day he was elected, they've been hounding him. They have absolutely nothing, and folks, a year is enough time for me. If you can't find something by now, you know what? You're not going to. You're not going to all of a sudden have that one interview or find that one email that's going to do it. It isn't going to happen. And here you have this situation in Florida where how many phone calls did the FBI get about this young man? I've heard all kinds of numbers.
Unreal.
I don't know they're ever going to tell you how many. But repeatedly, parents, students, teachers, the police went to the boy's house 39 times for domestic calls, but they didn't have enough evidence to move forward. But they've got an entire team of agents following Trump around. Something's wrong. I mean, something's just wrong. And in the meantime, we have the best economy in a generation. We've got the lowest unemployment, highest real take-home wages in a long time. I mean, forget making a law about minimum wage. In a free economy, you have supply and demand is going to drive it. Right now, we have a labor shortage in this country. Whether you believe it or not, if you're out there looking for a job and you can't find a job, maybe you're just looking in the wrong places. Because what I'm hearing in the economic news and the different bloggers I listen to and the people that I follow and read, we are having a labor shortage. And what happens when there's a labor shortage? Todd, high school economics, what happens? Hourly wages go up because they need people. We don't need a law mandating a $15 an hour pay. It's happening now. Fast food restaurants are paying $12 and $13 an hour in markets where they normally were paying $9 and $10 because they can't get anybody. So they're trying to draw them away from other fast food places, people that have jobs, good employees, they want to get them. So they're just going to keep raising the price. And as the price goes up, these employees will come, then the other people will have to raise their prices to keep those employees so they don't leave to go for the other $13 an hour job. So it's amazing. It's amazing to me how we have all this good news, but all you see on the media is the bad news. And these are isolated incidences that happen, but that dominates the news like that's what's normal. Yet what is normal, a great economy, doesn't dominate the news. Am I getting this out right, Todd? Am I getting this out right? It's so confusing, it's even got me confused sometimes. But I have hope. As I'm looking at what's happening with the economy, I just have hope. We had a dip in the stock market, and I went on record here, Todd, I think you were my engineer that morning. I went on record saying the economy the way it is the way it should be. This should be the normal. Oh, it's up so high, it's the highest it's ever been. And why is that wrong? It's going to crash any minute. Why? Why do you think that? This is the norm in a free economy. So the other day, last week, when we had the markets dipped, and people said, see, that was it, there's the crash. No, there was no crash. We just had a dip, and it came right back. And it's a testament to how strong this economy is, because this was a global, they keep calling it a correction. Fine, let's call it a correction. This was a global correction. I disagree, by the way, that it was a correction. There was some market forces that kicked in, prices responded, and then when it was over, prices responded again. So if you want to call it a correction, fine. And I'm not an economist. My degree's in accounting and business administration, okay? But so we had this happen, and it was global. It actually started in Japan on the Friday night, and then it carried over into the markets on Monday. But the United States, our market just dipped a little compared to the foreign markets that dipped, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me because I really wasn't even going to go in this, but since I'm here, let me keep going. The Asian markets dipped, I think, 7%, 7 point something. It was in that range. Ours only dipped in the 4 point something. We might have been 5, but we quickly, the next day, corrected. Then there was another dip, and it went back and corrected. And I'm making the little quote signs. Corrected again. And where are we today? We're as strong as we were before. The numbers may be off a little. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. But we're strong, and we're showing strong signs. If that dip in the market had happened 4 years ago, the correction would have taken weeks, maybe even months. Here, it took days. Actually, it took 1 day. But it took a few days for things to level off, and things are back to normal. And actually, if you had some money to invest, that last week was a great time to put it in because we had some lower prices. And I don't know how long they're going to stay low, but that would have been the time to put money in the market. Okay, am I done with that, Todd? I think I feel better about saying that. So I'm just looking forward to things keep going the way they are, and for things to stay strong. Now, what is the biggest problem that I'm seeing in my practice every week? Right now, the biggest problem I'm seeing that people are having is W-2s that are wrong. We're getting a lot of them. And why, I don't know. But it seems that we're getting more than usual. When I say wrong, there's two things that can go wrong with a W-2. The recipient information, that's you, the person that gets it. I'm seeing Social Security numbers are wrong. We've had 3 of those, had 2 just yesterday. We've had 3 of those this week. Names being spelled wrong, we had a couple of those. And amounts being wrong. Now, the only way I can tell if it's wrong is when the person brings it to me and they said, this didn't seem right, so I compared it to my last check stub. And the numbers were off. It wasn't a big deal, but it was off enough that it could affect this person's refund just depending on the withholding. So what do you do if there's something wrong with your W-2 and your 1099, by the way? For those of you that get 1099s, had a few of those this week. What do? You got to go back to the employer. You've got to have them fix it. They're the only ones that can fix it. I can't fix it for you. I cannot fix it on the tax return. Okay? It's got to be done on the employer side. Because the way it works is this. The employer reports that to Social Security Administration. They say we're going to send it to the IRS, but really, we send it to Social Security. They put it in their system, then the IRS gets it from their computers. That's the daisy chain on this. So the employer has to correct this so that it gets corrected with Social Security, especially if it's a Social Security error, because you want that money to go get posted to your Social Security account. That's the biggest reason. I mean, forget the refund for right now. The big picture is if you worked all 4 quarters, you want those 4 quarters to post to your account. Because down the line, when they calculate your retirement, for those of you that have heard me talking about Social Security and how it works, you have to work 40 quarters, equivalent of 10 years, and they rank it from highest to lowest and calculate on the highest. So you want that posting to your account. And if you let it go and too much time expires, people tend to just forget and things happen and it could fall off and you might not get credit for those 4 quarters last year, 2017, that you worked. So you've got to go back to the employer. Now, if the employer is either out of business or just isn't working with you, you can't get him on the phone, whatever, there's many reasons, or you don't want to call him. Well, not wanting to call him is not an option. You have to call him. Some people say, well, I quit that job and I really don't want to talk to them again. Well, then write them a letter or send them an email. Do something, but it's them. They're the ones. We got to go back to them. Now, if they're out of business, if they went bankrupt and they are that entity is no longer on the face of this earth. There are some forms that you can do, but it will force you to paper file your tax return, and it will slow things up. But that's the way it's got to be done. So when you get that W-2, and we're going to take a break here. When you get that W-2, look at it. Don't, I've got people that bring them to me with the envelope still closed. They didn't even open the thing. They drop them off. I'm looking at this going, they didn't even look at it. They don't even know if it's correct. I had one where it wasn't even the man's correct W-2. It belonged to like another employee. They put it in the wrong envelope or labeled the envelope wrong, one or the other. And he brings it to me, and I call him. I said, is this like a family member's? You want me to do their tax return? So please look at the thing right away. Make sure it's right, or at least you feel like it's right. Let's go ahead and take a break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM.
My closet keeps shrinking my clothes. And if you have that problem, take them to Nancy at Nancy's Alteration Shop at 610 South Broadway, Forest City. Call Nancy today at 429-6900. Wear the clothes you like to wear. Let Nancy bring them back to life for you. That's Nancy's Alteration Shop, 610 South Broadway, Forest City.
It's official. I'm celebrating another year of looking fabulous, all because of RSL Salon. Whether it's a hairstyle, a manicure, or a pedicure, call Robin at 289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous. That's 289-9110.
We are back. WCAB 590 AM. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes. Now, I went right into it.
Catch your breath.
I did, yes. Let me catch my breath. If you need me, give me a call. 828-289-9300. You can send me an email at gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. But my telephone number, my main number, whether you're calling Tryon or here, 828-289-9300. I'm running about 2 weeks out on tax returns right now. So if you need your tax return done, if you're not one of my regular clients, because I've already got them in the calendar, you give me a call. I'm looking at about 2 weeks out. I recommend now businesses, partnerships, Schedule S's, your tax returns are due March 15th. Okay, so we're a little bit less than a month out. If you don't think you're going to have it all together, go ahead and file an extension early. Get that out of the way. Please do not call my office on the 14th. Well, by that time, if you're a regular client, I will have called you. So the first part of March, you'll get a phone call from me wanting to know where you're at. But file an extension early. Get that out of the way so you're not doing that at the last minute. If you even have any doubt about getting things together. Individuals, this year, your tax returns are due April 17th because the 15th is on a Sunday. Monday is a holiday in Washington, D.C., so you have till Tuesday at midnight to get those out. Again, if you don't think you're going to be ready, file an extension. Now, we were talking here during the quick break, how could people make these mistakes on W-2s? Let me tell you what I think. Let me give you my opinion on this one. This year, January 31st was a hard date for all data to be submitted. Normally, we can get W-2s and 1099s to people by January 31st. That's in the mail by the 31st. But we didn't have to have the final to the Social Security, to the government, by February 28th. March 28th if you e-file. Paper file was February 28th. March 28th if you e-file. Well, this year, and I believe it's part of this effort to combat fraud. I really haven't looked at it, but it's law. This year, everything had to be done January 31st. So we in the preparer community that prepare W-2s and 1099s were under a lot of pressure to get these things audited, make sure they're right, and get them turned in, because you don't want to be going back later and having to correct them and issue corrected W-2s to people, especially if you've got a company with 20 or 30 employees. That's a lot of work. So I really think that there was a rush to get them out. And a lot of it's just, don't forget, these things still have to be manually inputted. The names still have to be typed. Social Security numbers have to be typed in. And the first two that I got that were wrong, it was a new job for them. So you can understand, okay, a new job, it's the first year. Somebody in human resources put it down wrong. But the other lady, this was her second year with the company, and they had it wrong last year too. And this year they got it wrong again. That's just somebody not paying attention. That's just somebody there is just not paying attention. But we pay attention. We look at every one of those W-2s. That's how we catch them. And people have told me stories that they've gone to preparers that just inputted the thing and inputted it wrong. No, we're going to pay attention to this for you. So, because it's a big deal, and it will slow up your refund, and it'll mess things up, and you won't be able to e-file. You'll have to paper file. So that's what you do. But look at them things when you get them, please. You should really be looking at all your forms when you get them. Your 1099-R, which is your retirement income. Look at it, and is that how much money you got? These people do make mistakes. You think, oh, it's going to be correct. If you get a monthly distribution from a retirement plan, do the numbers add up? Same thing with Social Security. Do the numbers add up? Don't assume it's correct. Especially if there's been a death of a spouse and there's a change in the Social Security payment or the retirement payment. Check that out. Just look at that. And I can't say this enough. Look at that. Again, and I gave my telephone number out, right? If you need me, 828-289-9300. I want to talk about, I really don't want to, but I have to, the scams. The rampant scams. There's a new one, Todd. I know you thought you'd heard it all. I thought you'd heard it all. I'm getting a text here from my wife, who works at Gilbert M. Carmona EA Accounting and Tax Service. Yes, she wanted me to stress. To open your envelope before you bring it to me and make sure it's correct. That to even at least open the envelope and make sure it's your W-2, because we have had that. Actually had that the week before. That was the man who handed me. It had his name on the envelope. I opened the envelope and it is somebody else's W-2. So it does happen. It does happen. Let me talk about scams. There's a new one, Todd. I thought I'd heard them all. And you probably heard them all too, being my engineer for all these years. There's a new one. And I was telling my wife while we were reading about this that people really, do they not stop and think, what's wrong here? Okay, and by the way, when I'm relaying these scams and these tax fraud things that are going on, this is information we're getting from the IRS. Because as an enrolled agent, I'm a practitioner, and I get emails from them, almost daily with bulletins and advice and things going on, things they want us to share with our clients or share with just the general public. So a lot of this that I'm passing on to you comes from the IRS. So there is a new scam. And the scam is this. They will get your bank account number and routing number somehow. They will file a fraudulent return and have the refund deposited into your account. Okay? They will then call you pretending to be the IRS, and they will say that they erroneously deposited $5,000 into your bank account and that you need to take that $5,000 out immediately and send it back to the IRS. Okay? You can do that by going to the bank and they'll give you wire information, or they'll give you a routing and an account number for you to send it to, and that if you don't do it right away, there's some variations on this, of course, but this is the general idea. If you don't do it right away, the IRS will somehow do something to you. They'll take it out of your refund. They'll take it out of your bank account with fees, penalties, and interest. And if you do it by yourself, if you go do it, it'll be the fastest way, and there'll be no penalties and no interest. But at some point, do you just not stop and think, okay, $5,000 just showed up in my bank account. Something's wrong here. And then the address they have you send it to is, of course, not the IRS. It's their own address. They'll have you get a money order at the bank, or they'll have you get a cashier's check, or they'll have you wire it. And they're kind enough to tell you to go ahead and take the wire fee out of that refund. And you need to wire it right back to the IRS because, the IRS needs that $5,000. Okay. Number one, and I've said it here for 5 years, I've been saying this, the IRS will never call you. Ever. If there's a problem, they will write you a letter. So stop right there. The IRS will never email you. The IRS will not reach out to you on Facebook. Okay, you're not going to get a like request from the IRS on Facebook. And people have gotten these, and when you read the stories, you go, did you not stop and think for 1 minute? Okay, the IRS reached out to you on Twitter. I mean, at what point do people, it's almost, I don't know how many times we can say this. The IRS will never email you. They will never call you asking you your bank account and routing number. They already have it. But this time of the year, they do that, and people panic because they're at home waiting for a refund, and a man from the IRS, claiming to be from the IRS, calls you and says, we tried releasing your refund, but the bank account numbers is not right. Can you confirm your bank account number? Well, these people are waiting for that refund. It's like thinking just stops when they hear IRS and refund. And they give the people the number. They've told us they do this. And I'm like, why would you do that? Well, I thought it wasn't right, but I did it. Well, you've got a big problem now. So what happens so let me talk about that. What happens if your tax preparer or you put down the wrong bank account number? I had one this week. They called me. We did the tax return about 3 weeks ago. Their refund should be showing up any day now. They call and said, the bank account we gave you was the wrong one. We closed that one. It was our fault. We gave you the wrong number. We closed that one and opened up another one. Can you call the IRS and go ahead and fix that? No, we can't. Once that thing gets e-filed, it's gone. You can make no corrections to that tax return. When it's gone, it's gone. Okay? So what happens? Their computer will try to deposit that money into that account at that bank, because that's the routing number they have. That account number is now closed, and the bank's not going to reissue that account number to somebody else. That account number is closed. What'll happen is the computer will come back unable to deposit. The computer will automatically generate a paper check that will go to the address on the tax return. So 2 things. Make sure your account number that you give your preparer or that you put in if you're doing your own taxes is correct, that the bank account is actually open. Okay? Those 2 things. And make sure that your mailing address on the tax return is correct so that when the paper check gets released, it'll go to the right address. Now, what happens if something happens to that paper check and it gets lost? That's a whole other procedure. You can pick up the phone after a while that you didn't get it, and they can trace it. Okay, and they've got ways of tracing it that I'm surprised. They can go back a few years and trace these checks. Let's take another break, Todd, and we're going to talk about where is my refund. And I may get around to it. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM.
This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300.
We are back. That was a short one. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, 590 AM. So if you need me, let me say my telephone number again, 828-289-9300. People are asking, where is my refund? Now, the tool at the IRS, emails are just coming in. People have all kinds of questions. The tool, the IRS this is what they want you to do. If you want to know about your refund, they want you to go to Where's My Refund. You can get the link, you can Google Where's My Refund online. You can go to irs.gov. That is the only official IRS website. irs.gov. Okay, not .com, .net, .org. And if you type all those, you will get fake websites that want you to put your social security number and your date of birth in there. Don't do it. The Where's My Refund tool does not ask for your date of birth. So if you go to a website, Where's My Refund, and it's asking you for social security and date of birth, you're at a scam site. Do not put any information in. irs.gov, Where's My Refund. It's going to ask you for your social security number, your filing status, and your expected refund. Now, there has been a delay in the tool from what people are telling me. I don't use that tool myself, only because I've got software that I rely on. When I send your tax return in, I get back either an accepted or a rejected. And that comes from the IRS. I am an electronic return originator. It goes from my computer to a server to the IRS directly. I don't rely on, I'm not a third party, I don't do third party. So your data is always safe. It's as safe as it's going to get with me. And then it comes back from the IRS either rejected, and I get a reason why it's rejected, or I get accepted. So beyond that, I don't know what's going on. But people have been calling me, telling me that it hasn't shown up on the tool. They've asked me, did you even file it? Is everything okay? All I can tell them is it's been accepted. The IRS has accepted it. So they've had some problems with the tool. Now, the tool updated yesterday, day before yesterday, it updated. What happened this year, as those of you know, with the new tax law that got passed year before last. Now, this is not this tax rewrite that we just had. This was 2 years ago. They passed a law that refunds involving, and this is one of the big myths that's out there right now, so I'm going to try to explain this whole thing. The tax returns involving earned tax credit, earned income tax credit, EITC, or child tax credit and the additional child tax credit. If your tax return has any of those, it is not going to be processed by the Internal Revenue Service until February 15th. That is when processing will begin. There was a myth out there that your refunds would be released February 15th. The IRS on Thursday got inundated with phone calls because people's refunds weren't in their bank account. Literally inundated with phone calls because somewhere that myth got put out there that February 15th and it was going to be like, bam, everybody's going to get their refunds. No, that is when they're going to start processing them. We were told, and I've said it here, that refunds were not going to come out until February 27th or 28th. On average, we're going to give it 2 weeks after the 15th. They're going to give it 2 weeks. The IRS said, don't call us for 3 weeks, okay, after the 15th. So don't call them till the first week of March if you haven't gotten your refund. So I don't know what was wrong with the tool, For most people that did not have earned income tax credit or child tax credit, the tool was working fine. It was telling them it would be deposited on such and such a date, and it was. The tool will also tell you if there's a problem. The tool will tell you if your refund's been reduced. It will say your refund will be smaller than expected, and then they'll send you a letter in the mail, or you can pick up the phone and call them. But don't do anything until you get that refund. Don't call them and ask them why it's different. They probably won't be able to tell you. It needs to process and go through the system. So the myth was the 15th we're going to get it. No, they're going to start processing it on the 15th. Now, could you get it earlier than the 27th and the 28th? Yes, and you probably will. Some people, because they're gonna release it in batches, smaller batches. So some will come out earlier, some might come out later. And again, the reason they're doing this is to weed out ID theft. Now, there's another myth while we're talking about myths, and I don't know where this started. I have no idea. I've tried to find the origins of some of this stuff, but there is a myth that if you request a transcript, it's going to speed up your tax return. I can't even figure out. Yeah, well, it's been out there, and people have been doing it. They've been calling the IRS, and they have been requesting transcripts. Now, what is a transcript? A transcript is basically your tax history by year. You can request transcripts. They readily keep 3 years on file, 3 prior years on file. So you can get a transcript for 16, 15, and 14 right now, pretty easy. If you start getting into 13, 12, and 11, the data starts kind of getting thin. Anything older than 11, they have to research and pull out of archives. And even then, there's no guarantee they'll have it. That's why I tell people ask me, the question is, how long should I keep my tax records? Well, there is no law. Because the people say the IRS says you have to keep your tax records for 7 years, or the IRS says you have to keep your records for 3 years. There is no law. There is no code. There's no anything from the IRS saying a number. We recommend 3 years minimum because they can easily go back 3 years in the archive. We say 7 years because then after 3 years, the next 4 years, they still have it in a common audit. If they're going 3 years and they find a problem, they'll go back 7. So we say keep them. I say keep them as long as you can, as long as it's not a burden. Keep the main documents. Definitely keep a copy of your tax return and keep your W-2s and any documents like the sale or purchase of a house. Keep those forever because those things are important. But so there's this myth that if you call the IRS and say, I want a transcript, it's somehow going to release your refund. So the transcript line at the IRS, which is a phone number, or you can do it online too, also, but there's a lot of background data they're gonna ask you about, has been swamped with requests for transcripts and really an abnormal amount. And when they started questioning some of these about why are you asking for your transcript, well, they said I'll get my tax refund faster. No, it doesn't work that way. And here's a little fact from the IRS. The IRS issues more than 9 out of 10 refunds in less than 21 days. So 90% of them are out in 21 days. 80%, 8 out of 10, will get the refund faster if you e-file and do direct deposit. That's the fastest combination. E-file and then have direct deposit. A paper check will add 2 weeks to it. Why would somebody, just about everybody has a bank account. If you don't have a bank account, that's why people would get a paper check. E-filing, not everybody can e-file. There may be a complication in your tax return, but most people, 80% of the people, can e-file. So I talked about it on the 15th. That was whatever. And the transcript, The other myth that's out there is pick up the phone and call the IRS and let them know that you're sitting there waiting for that tax return, and they'll just go ahead and put that thing in your bank account for you. We don't know where that came from, but that's been out there. People, well, like we said, on the 15th, the IRS phone lines literally melted with people calling. And calling your tax preparer, by the way, isn't going to speed it up anymore either. So that's been out there too. But the biggest thing you can do really is just make sure your information's right in the beginning and get it out there. Now, what to do if the refund amount you get is different? You should get a letter in the mail. So you get your deposit, you were expecting $3,000 and you only got $2,500. There's actually a telephone number you can call even beforehand called the Treasury, and I didn't bring that number. I will get it during the break. There's a telephone number that you can call called the Treasury Offset Program. It's an 800 number. You can call that number to find out if your federal refund will be withheld because of a debt you have that they have filed the paperwork with the IRS. Typically what we see offset is child support, student loans, or money you owe to a state agency, like the state of North Carolina. The state of North Carolina can do the paperwork with the IRS, and the IRS will hold your refund and send it to the state of North Carolina. So those things, and there are other things depending on the state you live in. Different states allow different things. Now, everything I've been talking about is federal. Also, remember, North Carolina can hold your refund too. And North Carolina, they can hold your refund for a lot more things than normally you would get in IRS. You know, as an enrolled agent, I can prepare taxes in all 50 states. And any American living in another country, or any taxpayer, person's got to pay taxes in another country that needs to file a tax return, I can do. So I see a lot of things in other states. Illinois, and these are the ones that I have experience with. I've heard stories, but the ones that I have experience with, Illinois, the state of Illinois, will hold your refund to pay parking tickets, if you can believe that, Todd. And people in downtown Chicago rack up a lot of parking tickets. So the state figured they can do that. But there can be a number of things. Let's go ahead and take another break here. Right now, we will be back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM.
I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite.
I want to welcome Tim Schlabach and Foothills Photo Works, a professional hybrid commercial photography studio. If you're concerned about your social media image, listen up. Whether you're an executive, real estate broker, lawyer, or business owner, your image matters now more than ever. And you know first impressions count. Whether you need professional portraits, corporate headshots, images of your products or facility, aerial photography, and videos of buildings, boats, or large acreage, affordable professional help is here for you. Foothills Photo Works can create media that will help your prospects get to know you better and help you look your best. Call for an appointment. That number is 828-668-2304. Mention this ad and receive 15% off your first session. That's 828-668-2304. Foothills Photo Works, your media professionals.
We are back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes live right here on WCAB 590 AM. Those of you live streaming us, seeing us live here in the Blue Room at www.wcab59.com. Northland Cable Channel 5 subscribers listening to us, good morning. So this is the last section of the show. I hope I explained refunds and W-2s because I've been talking about it for the last 45 minutes. That's about, I can't think of anything else to say about them. We've got a lot of activity here. Jesse from Railroad Express, you need to go over there and get you a good breakfast. Really, just stop in, tell Jesse that Gilbert sent you. And you know what you'll get? Some of the best food in town. That's what you're going to get.
You mention my name, you get free parking.
And coffee. Todd said if you mention Todd's name, you'll get free parking. Mention my name, you'll get free parking too. But Jesse, you got the 6-shooter over there? Is that what it is? Jesse's here. If I would have known you were coming, you should have brought donuts and coffee. Next time, please. Yes. No, that's okay. We're going to be done in 15 minutes. We're going to head on over there and have breakfast and coffee. Railroad Express. And he is a sponsor here at WCAB. He's an advertiser here. Support him. He supports WCAB. So if you need me, let me get my telephone number out one more time. You can call me 828-289-9300. Now, this last section, I'm going to get into a little tax strategy here. And this is something we're still trying, we're figuring out all the, potential scenarios. But this is something you may want to consider. Talk to your tax preparer about it. If I'm already your tax preparer, I'm already thinking about this for you because I'm looking at this at a case-by-case basis for all my businesses. But if you are a Schedule C filer on your tax return, you file Schedule C, you are a sole proprietor or a husband and wife partnership. The reason I say husband and wife partnership, husband and wife partnerships can be a sole proprietor and be on the same tax return on a Schedule C. What we do is we split that Schedule C 50-50. Half for the spouse, half for the husband, half for the wife. So that's allowable. It's actually a good strategy for a husband and wife partnership. Because what happens, what we've seen happen, and I have actually seen this with clients that I've taken over, they've come to me and I've gone back and looked at their prior years. What happens is the Schedule C sole proprietor always gets put to the primary taxpayer by default. And a lot of times it's just in the software. Nobody thought this through. So all the Social Security credit went to the primary taxpayer. Typically the husband is the first taxpayer. The spouse, who was a 50% partner, worked in this business, got no credit on her Social Security for a business, and that is something you don't want to find out 30 years down the line and find out that you haven't been getting credit for Social Security for all these years of work. So this is very serious. There's a lot of serious consequences. So husband and wife, you can file your tax return, sole proprietor, Schedule C as a partnership, husband and wife partnership, special rules there. Okay, so if you file those, or if you have an LLC or a corporation and you have S Corp status. Okay, the whole reason most people go from a sole proprietorship to an S Corp is because you pay less taxes. Okay? Now, a C Corp, to look at the other corporation, a corporation that is taxed as a C Corp, you pay your taxes, the corporation pays the taxes. It does not go to you as an individual. That's why they say that you are being double taxed if you're a C Corp. Now you remember C Corps were taxed at a tax rate of 35%. whereas an individual is being taxed at a lower rate. Okay, so that's why you had S corp status, and the S corp status, the way it works is you get a K1. The K1 goes to your personal tax return, and you pay your tax at a lower rate on your personal tax return. Okay, so what we're seeing now with this new tax bill, and again, we're doing this at a one-by-one basis. We don't know, this may not be for everybody, but I just want you to have this conversation with your tax preparer. I'm getting my facts up here so I have them right in front of me. Your tax preparer, should you turn that S corp into a C corp? Because the new tax law drops that tax rate, corporate tax rate is down now to 21%. So if your personal tax rate, if you're in a higher tax bracket than that 21%, then this is a strategy that may work for you and may reduce your taxes. Let's say you're in a 25% or a 28%, one of the new, they got rid of a couple of brackets. And I mean, the highest tax bracket used to be the 39, but now now they've reduced it. So if you're in a lower tax bracket, C corp may make sense. Just, you need to look at it. So what happens is, and again, one by one, I don't want to say this is for everybody, just sit down and talk to your tax preparer about this. What happens is the C corp will pay the taxes. You individually are not liable for the taxes, so it's switched. But what you would do is you would pay yourself a paycheck, okay, and your taxes would be paid by the company. The only tax liability you as an individual would have is the withholding at the federal and the state level. So if you're an S corp, now how do you know if you're an S corp? Because I get that phone call. People say, I don't know what I am. Look at last year's tax return. Did you file an 1120S? S as in Sam. Then you are an S corporation. Now, partnerships may want to look at this strategy too, because like S corps, partnerships are taxed at the individual level. And it gets back to a conversation I've had here on the radio, and I have with a lot of people when they come in, and we actually had this conversation Tuesday with a client. They've been a corporation since 1980 something, 85. And we ask, the question is, why did you become a partnership? Because half the partners are dead. They're not even around anymore. The partnership's been rewritten so many times, but because when a partner leaves, it technically terminates that partnership, and a new partnership is created. That's technically what happens. Now, you can keep the name and the EIN, and you keep all those things moving forward, but the whole partnership, the nature of that partnership changes. So you ask the question, why are you a partnership? And the answer I get 80% of the time is, I don't remember. It's what we did back then. Well, why did you create a partnership? I don't remember. Why did you create an LLC? I don't remember. It's somebody, or I'll get, our accountant told us to do that. And okay, and this accountant is either no longer in business, or they retired, or they switched accountants, or our attorney that was advising us at that time said that we needed to be a corporation. Well, there was a reason. What was the reason? Because those reasons change, and you need to be reevaluating your entity. It's not etched in stone, folks, that you're a partnership forever. Well, what if? Let's look at, tax laws have changed. Especially this person that I was talking to, they did what they did because of the tax law change tax reform that happened with Ronald Reagan in 1986. So they created their corporation their partnership actually, based on those laws. Well, we have now had a sweeping tax reform. So probably 25 years from now, I'll be talking to people and I'll say, when did you start this corporation? In 2017. And you did it. And you did it because, somebody told us to do it because of the new tax reform. By that time, we'll probably have another tax reform. Actually, the tax reform of 1985, there were over 14,000 changes made to it from then till this new one that we just had last December in 2017. So the tax laws change. So have that discussion. See why you did it and see if you should continue to do it. And you do not file an LLC tax return. I ask people, what tax return do you file? Well, we're an LLC, we file an LLC tax return. There is no such thing as an LLC tax return. You're either filing an 1120, which is a corporate tax return, you're filing an 1120S, which is a subchapter S, or you're filing a partnership tax return. Now, if you're a not-for-profit, you're filing a 990. If you are a trust, an estate, some of these other entities, you're filing a different tax return, but those of you know who you are, that's a whole other show. I'm not even going there right now. That's a whole other thing, but the most common is a partnership files a 1065, and S Corp files an 1120S. But if I'm seeing this strategy right, this switching over to a C Corp, changing your status to C Corp, and it's just paperwork that needs to be done. EINs and everything stay the same. There's no other changes structurally to your company. But if we go to C Corp, if I'm seeing this could save people anywhere, 5 to 15% on taxes. And again, I'm being very general here with this advice. Let's look at it. I've gotten some emails. Haven't even had a chance to look at them, folks. But thank you so much for emailing me your questions. I will get back to you on those. And I want to thank everybody that commented on the farmers that reached out to me last week when I talked about Schedule F. F as in farm, for farmers. I got a lot of questions. I've actually had somebody listening that has a hobby farm and they're getting ready to turn it into a full-blown moneymaker. The thing has been making money for them, but it's been very small. They've got their production ramped up to a point where they're going to start it as a business. And so we will be incorporating, and we're having a meeting Tuesday to discuss this. They're going to be getting into some of these farm activities. But the schedule is Schedule F. And if you're looking at that form, what you want to do is go to irs.gov and get the instructions for Schedule F. And it walks you through that form, and it really gives you a working knowledge of what's going on with that form and what you can do and the things that they have there. And if you're if you're building your farm, but you're not ready yet to make it a full-blown business, save all your receipts of all the money you've spent, because this is your cost basis as you start making money for some of these long-term things that you may be selling down the line. Okay, Todd is holding the 1 minute finger up. That is the 1 minute finger. Todd, thank you for stopping me, because I was getting ready to get into Schedule F here. You saw where I was going. Okay, welcome to the second hour of Gilbert Talks Taxes. No, we can't. We've got to go because we've ordered our breakfast with Jesse, and he's going to have it ready at 9:03. So we've got to get out of here and get over there. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. This has been Gilbert Talks Taxes. Again, my telephone number 828-289-9300. My email gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. Give me a call if there's anything you need, and I will be back next week at 8 a.m. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, because, as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either.